we're back here with Dean Kruse. Last episode, we learned a lot about his childhood and some of the sports adventures and things that he had. So now tell us, right out of high school, how you got going with the auction business and things like that.
Well, I went to auction school. They call it Reppert's Auction School, which our family ended up buying about 20 years later. But I went to Reppert's Auction School where my dad went. He wanted me to do that instead of going to college. He said, you can come out and go to work right away.
Because now he had an auction business as
yeah,
well. Okay.
Yeah, my grandfather, Lester Boger, my mother's father, clerked auctions.
Okay.
And he clerked hundreds of them every year, all over everywhere. And he said, Russell, you like to get up in front of people and you like to sing and talk. Why don't you become an auctioneer? So my dad became an auctioneer and quit the farming trade, which when you farm a dairy farm, you're the last one to go anywhere, the first one to leave. You got to be there all the time. Nobody else milks those cows but you. Mm-hmm. And it's really quite a deal. I made up my mind I was never going to be a dairy farmer no matter what. Mm-hmm. But he needed somebody, and I made a decision to talk to some people. I went around at the courthouse and talked to 4 or 5 of the big businessmen. They all told me I shouldn't go in business with my dad. I should go to college. And then I asked them, and not a one of them went to college. So I thought, they didn't go to college. I'm not going either. I got a job. I'm going to do it. So I did, and we built our business up until from January to in April, we'd have a sale almost every day. Wow. Not Sundays, but almost every day. And we got in the summertime, because of working and stuff, some Saturdays we'd have 3 or 4 sales. We'd start one at 9 o'clock, then the other one would start at 11, and then one of us would stay, finish up the other one, go start the other one, then they'd come there. The next one start at 1, so we'd rotate and do that. And the next one at 3, and we rotate.
Now these were like estate auctions?
Yeah, well, everything. We sold, closed out factories. We closed out estates when people died. We had farm sales, a lot of farm sales back then. All the farmland around here was being farmed. Now one farmer farms it all. Yeah. One farmer farms 3,000 acres now. Back then they all were farming 40, 60, and 80 acres. Well, they all went out of business, and we sold them out by the hundreds.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really.
Now this was what, about in the 60s, or when would this be?
That would have been, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably mid-60s, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
probably from 58 or 9 till 60, 70, 65,
okay.
75.
What year did you graduate then?
58, I think. 58 or 9.
Okay. All right.
Long time ago.
Yeah. But now how many was in your class when you graduated?
45.
45.
And on August the 17th this year, we're having our 60th class reunion.
Okay.
Only about half of us are still alive.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, it will be really neat. So
you was doing all kinds of auctions.
Yeah, and one thing let me say that back then, Gene Bruin was the DeKalb County Republican chairman here for like 30 years. And he had a stroke and it was really bad. Couldn't do it anymore. So the local prosecuting attorney, Warren Sunday, ran, and also another prominent guy, I can't remember his name right now, ran. And I went to Boise State when I was in high school and come back, and it got me so fired up in politics. It's a great American Legion program. I went to the clerk's office. I said, I'm going to file for precinct committeeman. They said, Dean, you got to be 21. You got to wait a few years. So my birthday was in September, and I had to be 21 for the election in November. So, but you ran in the primary. And then right after the primary is when you elect the county chairman. So I went up and filed right away for precinct committeeman to run for committeeman. And so Warren Sunday and this guy had a real dog neck-to-neck deal going. And they were, I know who it was Gene Bruin, the chairman that had the stroke. Okay. And he could hardly walk, he could hardly talk. But they were running neck and neck. Warren Sunday was the local prosecuting attorney. Okay. And so Gene Bruin came out to my house and he said, I heard you're really interested in politics. I am, I love it. Never seen anything like it. And he said, why don't you run for county chairman and I'll back you. I think you can win. And I said, I couldn't win. He said, here's what I want you to do. We won't tell anybody we talked, and we'll both run. So there'll be 3 of them running.
Okay.
So we did that, and the paper would say, Warren Sunday, Gene Brown in a real close race for county chairman, blah, blah, blah. Always in the last paragraph. And young Dean Kruse, south of Auburn, is also a candidate. Like, an afterthought. Well, about 3 days before the election, Gene said, come with me. We're going to go around and visit the precinct committeemen in the county. We didn't visit all of them. The ones that he knew was against him, we didn't go. So we visited him, and he'd say, I'm for Dean, and I'd like for you to support him. And so we caught Ward Sunday flat-footed. He wasn't even campaigning. He thought he had it wrapped up. And so the day we won by like 6 votes, and I was the county chairman, the youngest one in the nation, because I wasn't even 21 and couldn't vote yet. But I was 21 in September, and then for the election, and then the election I was old enough, I was 21.
Okay.
So I got to be county chairman. I served for about 20-some years there. And then our state senator died, and so I thought, well, I might as well run for that. But at that time, it was Steuben County, DeKalb County, and all of Allen County, and all of Adams County. It was almost like a congressional district. And then that area had 3 senators. So this year, Bachelet was up and he died. So I ran, and I ran against Tom McComb at Fort Wayne, who was a state legislator and pretty prominent guy, McComb Insurance. And same thing there, I beat him, and nobody ever thought I would. So I won. Here I was. The minimum age is to be a state senator was 25 years old. And again, I turned 25 after the election, and I was the youngest state senator in the nation for a while.
Wow.
So that was really interesting. I enjoyed politics a lot. I was delegate and chairman of delegations to the DeKalb or the Indiana convention, and then I got to be national delegate at the national conventions. And because I was so young, they put me on. I was in newspapers all over the country: San Francisco, Washington D.C., all the newspapers. And then I ran for Secretary of State and got beat by a few votes. And so then I come back and got in the auction business. And then because of my political background, I got to be a lobbyist for the realtors. And so I actually was on the National Board of Realtors they have back then over 1 million members. And I got elected to that, which was a big deal, and a state realtor president and the local board president twice, realtor of the year. And I got to be the National Realtors Legislative Chairman. And then I got to be the National Realtors Political Chairman. And then I got to be the third one, what did I say, legislative, political, and anyways, I got to be chairman of the 3 biggest committees, and I really got a lot of publicity, and I enjoyed it. It was politics coming back, and I liked all of it, and so we had a lot of time. And then I told my dad, I said, Russell Reppert's auction school is in Decatur, and there's more auctioneers within a square mile right here in Indiana, in southern Michigan, Ohio, and Illinois than anywhere in the world. And we can have a sale other places, there's no competition. They said, you can go ahead, I don't want to travel around. So I started reading stuff, and I saw where Rockerville, South Dakota was a tourist town, was going to be for sale. So I flew out and met with a guy, and I said, why don't you let me have an auction, just sell this whole thing. And I got the sale. And in South Dakota, there was only like 3 or 4 auctioneers in the whole state. And the same way with like Nevada, and all these states were so different. And so I got a business, and we got a nationwide business so fast we didn't know what hit us. And it was really, really interesting. We were having sales all over the nation, making a lot of money. And
that was still just estates
Yep.
and
factories
and things
stuff
like that.
unusual. We sold a lot of unusual things. We sold a mansion in Mexico, the country of Mexico. It was John Wayne's home. His son contacted us. It was overlooking a cliff there in Mexico over the ocean. And we sold a funeral home. That was a going business. We sold a hole in the ground. It was 750 feet deep. It was like an old mine, right straight down. We sold that. A guy bought it to dump garbage in. But we sold everything he could think of.
Huh. Well, that's pretty fascinating.
It was I enjoyed it a lot, yeah.